All right. Well, I want to take a moment to say, hey, welcome to my guests and friends here who are, kind of impromptu coming live this afternoon. I want to invite RuBen Llinas to come live on the screen now as well. And Ishel, join me, please. We're going to run back and play the invocation again in a moment. When doing this sort of thing, there's always 100 things to remember, it seems. So nevertheless, I want to invite them to come on screen. As I understand, we are live on our various streaming platforms at the moment. So just confirming. Hey, Shell.
Hello. Hi.
Hi. Greetings,
Hi.
RuBen. Okay. It's what happens in Renegade Media, impromptu. Um, but it's because we're staying up with the momentum of the moment as well. So I think we give ourselves the permission to be perfect in this moment. Alisha with the keys. Yay. Greetings to Ken in Costa
Greetings.
Rica. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. So excited for today.
Oh, wow. Likewise.
Thank you for accepting the invitation. Really, very, very, very auspicious day today.
And the initiation for many.
Yeah, truly.
Yes.
Truly. So we were playing a beautiful invocation that no one heard at the beginning. I heard it in my headphones. It was obviously meant for me. I'd like to actually go back and share that because I do feel it sets the tone from our brother Louis Elbinger in Mount Shasta right now. So as we pull in the energies from these various vortices on our sacred planet, I think it's a wonderful thing to review that divine offering. So thank you all out there in the listening audience, the viewing audience, for rolling with us as we're going with the flow and appreciate loving the perfection of this moment. So I'm going to go ahead and share that momentarily, and we'll get into that. If you all want to mute yourselves in the meantime, that's great.
Om Namah Shivaya. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Mani Padme Hum. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Sat Shri Akal. We invoke the spirit of Babaji, Shiva, Krishna, Buddha, Moses, Jesus, and Mohammed. We invoke the spirit of Zoroaster, Confucius, Lao Tse, Socrates, and Guru Nanak. We invoke the spirit of Om Shakti Baba, Lecomte de Saint-Germain, Guru Gobind Singh, Mevlana Rumi, the Ascended Master El Morya, and my beloved wife Barbara. We invite all saints, angels, and archangels to join us at this time and help create a sacred space in which to worship God in truth, in goodness, and in beauty.
Yes, and so it is. So we
Really,
give thanks. Yeah, shout out to brother Louis Elbinger for that beautiful invocation. He posted that yesterday, actually. So I think it's very fitting that it opens the way for this moment right now. And we were doing some looking into Mount Shasta. I spoke with my friend Darshanya the other day, who lives in St. Croix and who's joined some of our activities in the past. Great artist, brilliant soul. And she was, speaking of Mount Shasta. I think we were looking into Mount Shasta previous to this as well. And some accounts, it's a root chakra energy, on the planet. In other accounts, it's a part of that whole system as well. That maybe the root chakra's in Peru, and the energy has been moving around like the Kundalini, like it is. And so with that said, though, for those who've been to Mount Shasta, they certainly know the power of that sacred place as well. So it's wonderful to invoke that. And I would just like to invite anybody to feel free from the heart. Just tune in. I don't necessarily see myself as hosting something at the moment, other than to just be in gratitude. Yeah.
Well, I want to acknowledge in that invocation also the presence of the feminine in this call through Alisha and Giselle, because of course we have heard the names throughout history of many masters, many ascended masters, and a lot of men and women who have left their imprint in the field, the spiritual teachings on earth. And today that is the 48th Tzolkin of the Harmonic Convergence, where we want to honor also all women who have been bringing this new energy into manifestation, embodying this new energy, this Shakti energy, and give thanks also for the synchronicity of the moment, and that we can share this invocation from Louis from Mount Shasta. He has been a very committed peace ambassador of the banner of peace. And today we are celebrating also like an important anniversary. It was October 25, 1935, that the banner of peace was the treaty of the banner of peace was recognized in Washington DC by the U.S. government. So since the harmonic convergence and the 13 moon calendar change peace movement is inspired in the values of this banner. Well, what a beautiful way to celebrate this 48th Tzolkin of the harmonic convergence of King 55, and bring the memory of all these teachers and prophets who have walked the earth, and who have bringing the message of peace, culture, and love through generations. So thank you so much, Maku, also for opening the space again. And I want to hear the of course Giselle and Alisha to have their impressions of this day. We need to unmute them, or
Yeah, feel free to unmute yourself and share.
Yeah, well, much love from Costa Rica. It's an exciting day for me. I know I've been kind of anticipating this 55 coming, and this is a harmonic convergence of two systems, and also of the East and the West, and also of the masculine and the feminine, and also of the dark and the light. It's the convergence of all of it. And I didn't realize until today. I had some friends that just came back from Shasta, and they brought us quite a few crystals. And my partner, Eduardo, had one made into a necklace, and it's kind of a ceremonial one that we don't always wear. We have it hanging on one of our things, but I didn't connect how important this was in thinking about the energy that it holds. I was watching some videos today of the harmonic convergence, and just that group of people that was seeing a vision this was back in 1987. Like, I didn't hear about meditation until 5 years ago. Like in 1987, these very advanced beings came to the planet, regardless of what was going on around them, and were meeting in these places, and they had a vision. And here we are now, 34 years later, and we're just now about to start seeing, it feels like popcorn, right? Like a couple of little pieces, they kind of pop first, and then all of a sudden it's like pop, 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 pop. We are coded for this mass awakening that's taking place. It's coded, and it's in our cells. It's no longer the time of the occasional prophet that figured it out. We're all here to wake up from this amnesia. We all are prophets. We all are galactic beings. We all are celestial beings. We all are ascended masters. And so what I really believe is taking place right now is that there have been a few of us that have been kind of playing around and dying, you know, so walking through the death portals, defying death even. You know, here we are in Gene Key 28 right now, which is talking about immortality. And, you know, walking through the death portal, walking through our fear of death, walking into immortality. There's, you know, before I got on here, I'm just going to free flow. I hope it's okay. I was listening to Robert Edward Grant. And I think a lot of us that follow any kind of sacred geometry or sacred anything are kind of connecting with him and certain beings on the planet that are all bringing in this harmonic convergence in their own way. Because at this point, we're working as a collective, putting all the pieces back together in our own special way. So when we can get over our personal stuff, we can really start to play in the collective fields. And not to be insensitive to that, but we are coming to a time right now where we're kind of being called to really look at, and I'll at some point talk about this thing I have that's called the Quetzalcoatl process, right? But it's like really identifying these lower pieces that are keeping us from ascending into our mastery. And so I'm watching Robert Edward Grant, who's in Egypt right now with a group of people, and they're unlocking even deeper mysteries and secrets. They just aired the video an hour ago, like just before this, and talking about the 14 pieces of Osiris, and we're in the harmonic 14. There's something converging here. He's bringing in Leonardo da Vinci and the secrets of the golden ratio. And here we are, I feel like through the Mayan information, unlocking ancient truths that are starting to be able to be demystified, if that's the word, I don't know, unlocked, realized, recognized, like undeniable numerical codes that have been encrypted to kind of bring us in. Like back in the day, everything was in mystery school and it was kind of secretly encrypted and encoded, but now it's like, there is no more mystery. There are no more secrets. We're all about to remember everything. That's what it feels like. So the 55, you know, has a big, in my reality, personally, my partner, my daughter and I together add up, make the 55. And then there are a million other deep synchronicities about this 55 that I'm connected to that have kind of brought me to wherever I am today, which is unlocking these mysteries of these codes of creation. And the best way I can say it is that there was some I Ching information and there was some Mayan information. There was some East and some West. And they couldn't quite come out all at the same time together. And so it's been our jobs to slowly, whoever is called, to weave these codes into each other. And I remember the first time I saw Ruben's post about, because I was playing in both of them a little separately, you know, the Mayan and the gene keys, but I remember him posting about this harmonic convergence coming with these systems. And I really feel like we're in the process of unlocking the future human being, you know, unlocking the codes of consciousness. There are no more mysteries anymore. Whoever is ready to step up to the plate and leave the stories behind that unlock the gates of our consciousness to really bring us into unity and peace. We're being called now to a place that isn't so much about hoping and waiting for a change. We embody it within the self first. I was starting to be shown today that I think the circumpolar rainbow bridge has more to do with the rainbow bridge of the head and the heart and of the left and the right brain. And the bridging of the mental spheres and the physical body, because we're really here to bring the highest essence of ourself down into the body. You know, right now we might be connecting with this unified field where Tesla and Blavatsky and Arguelles and Terence McKenna and like all the thought leaders, we're playing in the 0 point energy field. And today's also the Kin of Nostradamus, right? And so here's a man, a prophet who was like seeing into the future and telling the future and kind of seeing. And so here's the interesting thing about that too, is that even what we see in the future can be a little tinted depending on the glasses or the lens that we're looking through the reality. And so to bring ourselves into unity consciousness and then look through the lens to see the bigger picture of the benefit of humanity and what's really taking place here and what our individual pieces are within this evolution of humanity that's taking place, this mutation that's taking place right now. I'll stop here for now, but I'm just very excited, obviously, for what's taking place. And I feel like it was about 3 years ago when I moved to Costa Rica, and I felt like I was dying. I left behind everything, my whole life, my whole identity, everything. I won't go into the story, but the point of it is, I remember crying in the river, like, why? What is this? And I was told in the river, the big change is coming and you're here to show the way. And so that was the piece. And so here we are, it's another way. We're always here to show the way. As soon as someone's ready to walk over the bridge, we're showing the way. And that's really how we open this rainbow bridge, is by actually embodying it and walking through it, not just praying about it or talking about it, but like really bridging this thing inside the body. And so that was what kind of pulled me through. Okay, I'm letting go, I'm shedding, I'm going through the eye of the needle. And I think we're all kind of being tasked in this, what can be perceived as a chaotic time in history, all for good reason, all for the transformation that we're here to take in. And we're being called to face our shadows and our fears and our separation and our old programming, so that we can really bring ourselves within, divine union within, into this unity and oneness, so that we can start to really see that reflected outside of us, which I know is what Harmonic Convergence from the beginning, that was the vision of it, and what was being brought in then. And now we're the ones that are here to kind of say, hey, here, let's celebrate. This is the beginning of the piercing of, I keep seeing a balloon with a needle going pop, and I just, poof, like everything's just exploding. Our consciousness is exploding. To remember even that our pineal gland is where the pineal gland to the promised land. Like everything is up in here in these mental spheres, and in this corpus callosum, and in this thing here. It's all in here. And so we just need to learn how to work with our DNA and learn how to work with the mental spheres a little bit. And ultimately, even to make things easier, just to open our heart, forgive and release and let go, and start to surrender and be real, take off the mask, be who we really are. And that will lead us from the shadow of victimization into the city and the gift of freedom, which Gene Key 55 is all about. So I'll pass it on now.
Ruben, did you want to say something into that? That was beautiful, Alicia, but I wanted to give the guys the time to go ahead and say something.
No, please go ahead. I was waiting for you to say something.
Okay, you had me on one. I was off in space with you, Alicia, and I so appreciate how you just flow and you just get your downloads. I love it. I'm definitely feeling the connection with your perspectives, and that's one of the things that was coming up with me. It's like we're activating, we're remembering, and these different perspectives are all just like different waves of energy. But man, that was a journey. So I do need a minute to like kind of process that, to like then reflect what I wanted to say. So please, by all means, Ruben, Mikuak, go ahead and share something, because it's a lot right now.
Yeah, I would say what came up for me is that we are in this process of memory retrieval. I think that's the way I heard it described. Even recently, something I was reading from the Cosmic History Chronicles, perhaps, but just this process of memory retrieval. And it is a very exciting time. It is a time to celebrate. I feel like we're in this marathon of evolution in consciousness, and we've been handed the baton now as a collective to take this thing to the next level. And so it's a matter of us giving ourselves permission to do that, to show up in that way, to be that in full embodiment, in concert with others, which is one of the beautiful things about this arcing timeline from Harmonic Convergence 34 years ago, knowing that moves through the melodic resonance of 2012, according to the Gene Keys and Richard Rudd. And then that moves as well into the rhythmic symphony of 2027. So the implication of a symphony is that it's a collective. Naturally, it's there. We're in resonance now. We've been getting into greater resonance since 2012, crossing that major threshold of completion and new beginnings. And also this window of synchronization galactic synchronization, specifically since the beginning of the galactic seed year, that's where we find ourselves now. I think we're really at the ripening point of that, and now the real work or the play begins, because we are giving ourselves that permission to show up in this way, even as the default world or the shadow frequency is having its own revealing process. That's a part of the initiation. That's a part of it, and it's a collective initiation at this point. Obviously, as a planetary whole, the whole planet's being collectively initiated through the conundrum of death, really, through the initiation to ascertain and remember that death is not real. And that's the big picture opportunity I feel we're in right now. So I'm super grateful and super grateful for the opportunity to be able to play in these mental spheres with others, because it is what we're here to ground and to celebrate and expand, and also leave as the continuity as it was left for us. We're here to also make sure it's left for others in new ways that honor the ways that have brought us to now. I want to mention in the invocation with Louis Elbinger, to also invoke the presence of Jose Arguelles, Valum Votan, and Lloydine Arguelles Burris, and just acknowledging the groundwork that they have provided us with, to really, again, play with and to enjoy and to celebrate and to recall and find ways to let this serve to unify the family of humanity. I mean, that's the real call, it seems. And according to the timelines that were laid out and the maps that have been laid out, the guidance that has been set forth, it seems that we're now with this blue lunar storm 13-year sequence, as it's referred to, that takes us to then the following blue magnetic storm in the sequence of 13 years. We're at the electric seed year. We're in the second year of this 13-year process. At the completion of this process, the intended goal is that there is a recognition, noospheric recognition of our human collective to live and operate as an organism, a unified organism. Like that's goals. That's one of the goals, it would seem. And we're being equipped with the perspective, the ability to perceive the reality, the multidimensional realities, all happening at once. And so it's exciting. It's a concert. It's the best concert ever. And so, that's where I'm at, and that's how I'm resonating in this moment.
Yes, thank you so much for, and to add just a thought on that this is the harmonic convergence, like Alisha also mentioned, of timelines, of systems, of East and West, masculine, feminine, but of course there are human beings who, like Richard brought, and Lloydine and Jose, and all the Raul who brought the human design, who are their mission here was to bring us the tools so that we can navigate this transition with full awareness and with different filters to perceive reality, so that we don't get so easy distracted by the world of appearances and what is happening in the third dimension, but be fully aware of our creative power in the process, the observer effect. The moment we change the way we look at things change. And I think that this is the beauty of these tools and codes, is that they are designed or presented to humanity as healing tools and as tools to bypass or transcend, I think is the right word, to transcend the illusion and connect with the higher aspects of reality that are encoded into our DNA, that are encoded into life itself, and that are expressed as these frequencies and these numerical codes that for some people may be still very new, but that for those of us who have had the blessing of working with them for years, we acknowledge their great influence in our process of evolution and process of integration, what is happening in this mutation that is not, it's been a process. I love the way that Richard Rudd simplifies that this is the harmonic convergence is an ongoing process of events. It's not one event that happened in 1987, one synchronized global synchronized meditation, the first one in history, but it triggered a wave of synchronicities and meaningful harmonic alignments that are now just popping like popcorn, like Alisha mentioned at the beginning, and that we have now the tools and the ability to perceive them and know that this genetic mutation is taking place, that we are not really bringing confusing esoteric concepts to the table, but that these are real expressions of life in our everyday reality, and that the moment that we can observe and contemplate these codes from this higher perspective, they changes in the way that we are supposed to evolve and through the plan of evolution on the planet. So today is important also to recognize that thanks to these tools is that we are having this conversation and that we are having this meeting to just have a small tribute to all the people who worked for this convergence and who planted the seeds of what is taking place right now on the planet. These important milestones that we are now reaching and that are coming to a very decisive point at the end of this speech.
Michelle, do you want to jump in there?
Yes, can you guys hear me? Because I got logged out and had to log back in. Just want to make sure it works. So forgive me if it does that again. But just taking in everything and reflecting what you guys are sharing, and to add on to that, I feel like where my stance is being and knowing myself more and more because of these tools and the modalities, because it is like Alisha was saying, we're all the prophets, all the prophecy, we're all part of it, we're all the prophets, you know, and then we're not at the same time. So it's like we have to release the ego too, release the illusion of that, but also play, because the world is a stage, right? So here's the opportunity, here's the initiation, here's, you know, the invocation. And to add on to that, I wanted to invoke, because he's been also part of my studies lately, is the Paramhansa Yogananda, to invoke him and Michael, you know, as he keeps coming up with this, with the gene keys and the synthesizing of all the modalities is where we're at. And now I'm thinking collectively, like, we're all having to activate this, you know, it's not just, but it starts with us. It starts with us doing it. So by modeling it for others, we're able to, again, initiate it, activate it, start the conversation, release whatever fears of the whole like esoteric world that it may sound like kind of foreign, or people aren't ready, or maybe are and just don't know where to go to start the conversation, because there is just this energy out there which also connects to the Luciferian energy and like the whole reptilian energy that is out there, if I may go that way. But Harald, this scientist that has come across, has matched that scientifically with this like an entity, you know, scientifically, this energy that's on you, which Jinky 28 does talk about with the shadow of it. So being where I'm at, taking all this information in and yes, enjoying the celebration, because here we are, we have this opportunity to know that we're right on track is all I can say with regards to the timeline. And being aware of that, and people that will continue to watch us or continue on their journey or their path, or people have already, we're trying to figure out who that community is, you know, so we can all share and hold stronger energy together by being witnesses and staying together and expanding it. So I guess my questions that come up for me as a warrior, galactic signature. I'm curious to know what all of our signatures are combined together. That's just a side note, me trying to remember for later. But it's like, where do we go? How can someone start the process if they haven't started yet? Because there are a lot that are in the beginning process of this, you know. And so I think of them to help them through this transition, because we are essentially, again, according to timelines of what you guys have shared on a Harmonic Convergence, it's like we are in the front lines of this shift, you know, for this next generation, this next like Baktun, Pictune, if you will, of this activation of the noosphere. And, you know, being connected, you know, as Mikuak was saying, as one organism. So I'm just also free downloading, so forgive me. What else? Let me just check my notes here. Oh yeah, so I loved what you were sharing earlier, Alisha, about the like activating the pineal gland or like the circumpolar rainbow bridge. What came for me is I was seeing like that's what we're having to do with these meditations and these specific like goals and markers, with the calendar work that you guys have been doing with, you know, the transitional calendar and tracking all these important dates from before till present now and into the future. It's like, but it's, you know, celebrating future events, like as we did just a couple of days ago with that one, you know, future spiral of October 21st. So I feel like once we're able to like get this knowledge to others, you know, we'll be able to kind of figure out what that flow is and like riding the waves of these energies and shifting, but also grounding it and not getting carried away with the narratives that are playing out there. And or the energy, the leaching of this low vibrational energy is what I like to say. But with the circumpolar rainbow bridge, that's what we're having to do. And it's like I'm thinking of like all the chakras in the body, all the little meridian points are just like little circle, like fractals. It's like that's where I think about. I'm going everywhere, forgive me. But I'm seeing like we just need to activate ourselves so we can all connect with these rainbow bridges and, you know, bridging from earth to heavens is what I feel as I've got that calling too, you know, to like help others through the transition, you know, stepping onto that world bridger rainbow bridge, you know, the skywalker here and the world bridger and the seed. It's fascinating and it's beautiful and I'm grateful, and, you know, just remembering to we have to go inward is, you know, is the first step. And the Gene Keys is a great tool. The calendar is also a system, you know, to synthesizing it all. And just, I feel like that's part of it too, is what we've been brought here is to piece everything together and, you know, now figure out the module to like get people going, you know, in the upward spiral instead of downward. That's it for now. Thank you.
I would like to invite Alisha, because for some people who are probably watching, or who are going to watch this in the future, and who have never heard about the gene keys, it would be great to hear also from your perspective, because you have been working also with this system for a while. What is the key behind the gene keys? What brought you to dive into that system, and how it has been the experience? What has opened up for you that may open up for other human beings around the planet that are curious about this?
Yes, I would love to share this, and I can see how, looking back at videos of Jose Arguelles in 84-ish, he was doing like Earth Ascending. He did an old video I found on YouTube, a little dusty, right? And I'm watching him talk about the I Ching and these codes, and how they were connected to the Earth ley lines, and how they were connected to Earth Ascending. And, when I came to Costa here, I'll share a little bit. I'll try not to be too long, but it's a part of the story of how it came into my life and how it's helped me so much. When I arrived to Costa Rica, I came here a different person than I am now. And I was really being asked to look at my relationships, my family, like all my tradition, culture, rules, my identity, like everything. I was being asked to look at all of that. And at the same time that I was being asked to look at that, the codes came in. So I came from a background of not knowing any esoteric types of teaching. I'd never really played with astrology. This was just 3 years ago. I didn't know that I had a stellium in Scorpio. I didn't know these types of things. Now I know that's kind of cool, but I didn't know any of that stuff. So when I came here, the first thing that happened is a book dropped out of off my friend's shelf that I had just met. It was called Bringers of the Dawn, Teachings of the Palladians. And I'd never heard of a Palladian either. So this was 3 years ago. And I'd also just arrived in this community here in Costa Rica. Looking back, now that I looked at the date, it was the 131 monkey in the center of the Tzolkin, which kind of feels like I literally opened up a portal as I walked into this community, because literally everything just went poof. So all of the data started coming in, all of the resources started falling in. It was human design, it was gene keys, it was codes and codes and codes. And I immediately started looking at what Richard was talking about with the epochs. And I, again, never heard of that type of stuff before, but it was like, and I must go back. I had a near-death experience 5 years ago on kin 142. I'm kin yellow magnetic seed 144, but I had a near-death experience on kin 142 when my son was born, which was also Wayne Dyer's birthday. And so there was some kind of activation that happened on this near-death date. I would say that a lot of people that have had near-death dates, like, you should look at the kin of your near-death dates and your, born dates. There's so much code and their imprints into the soul, I believe, are activations or windows or portals or wormholes where you start to gain more information, right? So that near-death experience did something for me that turned on my magnetics, let's just say. And I really believe that's what kind of brought me here, which we're now kind of calling the galactic 0 point of the world, the middle of the Americas, Central America, Costa Rica. It's part of the fulfillment of this prophecy thing that's taking place right now. So the codes came in. At the time, I was married with 3 children, and still with the children, but not married anymore. I met this other person and immediately didn't understand what was happening. Again, no esoteric background. I didn't know about twin flames. I'd never heard of Kundalini. I didn't know this stuff. So here's this man activating something in me. I don't understand what it is. The next thing you know, the gene keys and human design are kind of coming in and telling me what's going on. I didn't quite understand it, but he and I had the same codes, but mirrored to each other, which was a big part of the keys for me to start to really dive into this. Maybe I would have never experienced this stuff, to be honest, growing up in a religious background and still shaking some old programming about astrology being bad, or like I had some old stuff in there, some residual things that I needed to kind of get rid of within my own programming to even open up to this type of information. And what was beautiful is that the reality of what was happening in my life was kind of proving these codes to be true. which is the only reason I'm able to now share them with other people and not just push them or impose them as some kind of other belief system to try on. It's not about that at all. It's a code book of consciousness to assist you through the mutation. And so, RuBen, you were talking about the mutation. Like, what is this mutation? It sounds cool. Okay, we're having this mutation, a DNA mutation. What does that mean? Well, Richard Rudd, he drops it in the 55. It's a mutation of the solar plexus. It's the mutation of our emotional center. Okay, and the emotional center and the solar plexus is actually like our second brain, and it has nerves that are coming off of it, similar to how our brain. So we're talking about neural pathways, and we're talking about connecting our solar plexus and our heart and our mental spheres and all 7 of our bodies and all the 7 planes of existence. He's bringing, again, I didn't know any of this stuff when I started reading it. It just, what happened is that it started to awaken in me. I couldn't have studied the hours that it would take to understand this. It got unlocked in me. And it got unlocked in me because I kept my heart open during a challenging process. And so it helped learning in human design. I had individual circuitry. So I knew I was going through it as an individual. Whereas right now we're going through a collective one. That's the trick. Keeping your heart open during this process. Can you do it? Can you keep your heart open to your friend who believes differently than you, to your friend that believes like this, to the one that's still going through their processes and can't see the way that you see? Can you keep your heart open to your partner that's going to leave you for someone else? Can you keep your heart open? Can you understand that everything is here to help us learn how to keep the heart open no matter what? And ultimately, you know, we do all these techniques and listen to all these things about opening the third eye or making sure the third eye is not, you know, calcified or all of that stuff. But the truth is, no matter what, your third eye and seeing the bigger picture of what's really taking place here can only happen to the extent of how open your heart is. It's like, can you keep your heart open? And so there's a lot of gene key codes that will talk about this. So when you unlock your codes for the first time, you unlock your blueprint. It's an initiation for sure. Some people put it right back down because they either can't understand it or they don't want to face their shiz, is what I like to say, because it's a mirror. It will show you your shadow aspects. And so for me, I kind of looked at this as a fun journey or a game of like, all right, I'm here going through an initiation of a mutation of my emotional center. So step 1, that's what we're all going through right now. So how are your emotions? How are you handling stuff? How in control are you of your explosive situations? Are you a reactor or are you a retractor? We're usually one or the other. In my old days, when I wasn't in a stabilized field, I'd say right now, I'm pretty in a stabilized field. I'm beyond the particle and the wave. I'm in that still point, gene key 52. And that's my North Node. That's what I came here to do, was learn how to 0 point and stabilize the field. And so what I did is I integrated polarities and I stabilized the field until I didn't have to stabilize the field anymore. And my external reality started reflecting to me a stabilized field. So what we're actually learning is quantum mechanics. And maybe Richard Rudd's not talking about it exactly in that way, but if I'm watching a lot right now that's coming into my field with Greg Braden, he's bringing it in, and Bruce Lipton and Joe Dispenza, these dudes are bringing it in, right? And so this is the bridge. The other harmonic convergence taking place right now is with science and spirituality. Like, we have to look at them both. And he was able to start bringing that in and bridging that gap between those things. So there's things in science that we've been told that are no longer really true, maybe in some dimension that limits our capabilities as beings here. But we're expanding and we're ascending into a higher frequency right now. So we've got to unlock the gates in between there. So the codes help you with your karmic blueprint, is what I like to call it. You can go get your free profile on genekeys.com. Just Google Gene Keys profile or free profile. You can pull it right up. You get 4 paragraphs. You get to read about yourself. Those things were immediately unlocking for me. And then if you want to go further, you get the book or you order it online. I do a lot of free stuff by donation. I share whatever I see going on with the codes on my Facebook page. But here's the key. If we're following the Mayan information, we know a little bit about the Tzolk'in prophecy. We're talking about the 7 sacred seals and the 144,000. So I carry kin 144, which was a big part of the Tzolk'in prophecy. So there were times, and I'm not kidding, where I would be up almost all night studying Mayan culture and Mayan things, especially since my daughter was born. Her name is River Amrita, River of Immortality. She was born on kin 21 of this year. She's a little red dragon. And so that's an interesting thing as far as the numbers go too, because my daughter River is the 21. Okay. And then my partner and I, Eduardo and I, are 34, part of the Fibonacci sequence. And then me, Eduardo, and River together are the 55. And then my long count is the 89. And then my next kin is the 144. So the codes are playing out this Fibonacci sequence. It's kind of, and you don't choose it, it chooses you. And that at the same time. So there's something that I was being shown about the unfolding and the death and the rebirth process, and using these codes and tools, unlocking the 7 sacred seals. And now I feel like it's been my job, especially Michelle, that's when we kind of came into each other's fields, probably around February, March, when I was kind of sensing this galactic tidal wave of light that was coming. And I started doing these lives and just sharing, like unlocking our 7 sacred seals, our 7 wounds. This is the true judgment day, the true revelations, the true biological apocalypse. It's talking about there's the evolution and there's the involution. So it's the merging of our higher bodies and our lower bodies. And no one is immune from this process. We're all kind of coded for this. Our resistance to this process, which is us trying to hold on to old ways, old cultures, old traditions, trying to hold on to things or make things work out. That's not how it works anymore. We must learn. We have to trust the intuition. So I was put in, and we've got to clear our fear, and we've got to clear our false ideas of what loving ourselves and all of that stuff looks like. We've got to clear that, and we've got to start learning, okay, my body's telling me something. I'm being called to something. I'm being called here. I'm being called there, and trusting these magnetics that are pulling you, even when it sounds crazy. So here I am in a dramatic story of, okay, your body's telling you that it's time to be with a new partner and leave your 14-year marriage and break apart your stable, traditional, beautiful family. And you need to do this. And my mind is going, no way, I'm not doing that. How dare would I do such a thing? That would be terrible, right? In my world of what's good or bad and what's right or wrong and divorce and marriage and all of those things. No, I can't do that. And so part of our transition from this old paradigm, this patriarchy, is to shift from the mental man, the male in us saying, you can't do that. This isn't right. Don't do this. This doesn't make logical sense. Right. And we're shifting into the rise of the feminine. So Gene Key 37 talks about the real pole shift. The real pole shift is about the masculine and the feminine swapping roles, and the feminine principle rising and the patriarchy falling down. And so it's talking about the ascent of the family ascension. And so 37. So point of my story is that I was given this experience in my life to really face, do I do what makes sense in my mind, or do I do what makes sense in my heart? Do I follow what my body, and it still took me 6 months, of denying that process, and my body starting to go through illness and physical symptoms from not choosing what my intuition was telling me. I'm sharing this story because you can apply this to whatever you're going through right now. A lot of times our body and our inspiration's pulling us somewhere, and it might seem a little crazy and it might not make sense to everybody else, but we're being called to do something or shift something or change something. And what we're really doing when we choose that thing, because our safety and our mind is going, no, keep it like this, keep it like this, keep it like this. But the body's going, no. So we're shifting out of this mental into this heartfelt experience. And learning how to trust that, learning how to follow that, learning how to surrender, learning how to walk through the fear, learning how to walk through the rejection. This is ultimately always just about love and acceptance of yourself anyways. Because when you finally love and accept yourself, you don't really need the approval of another person. You don't need the validation of another person that what you're doing is right or wrong. And so I honestly think that's the micro to the macro that we're seeing, even with the idea of face masks. I've been seeing it that way this whole time. It's like 59, Gene Key 59. And which is connected to the jade, by the way. And in the city, it's called the Return of Quetzalcoatl. And it talks about, and so the programming partners, the 59 and the 55, work together so they can unlock each other. So you study your programming partners together, even if you don't have it in your chart. But anyways, it's the transparency ultimately that eventually brings us to the freedom. And the transparency is really talking about, well, for me, the way that I see it is we cannot hide anything anymore. We're all becoming crystal clear. We're all becoming more psychic. We're all becoming more knowing. We're all becoming more, we can sense how another person feels regardless of what they say. There's no more lying anymore. There's no more fake relationships. There's no more fake interactions. We are being called to be completely crystal clear, transparent in all of our interactions with ourselves and with all people. So the shadow is dishonesty. Like, where are we being dishonest with ourselves? And then the gift is about intimacy. It's like, into me, I see, like looking into yourself. And for me, and for anyone out there, it's about, as these emotions come up, as these feelings come up, as these fears come up, to be able to see them and acknowledge them, but also to be able to look at them from a neutral perspective and observe them all and say, I see that I've thought about it this way. I've felt about it this way. But if nothing's good or bad or right or wrong, and I just observe myself in this moment, what am I really telling myself? What's my reality that's really just a mirror for me? You don't have to be a mirror in the Tzolkin to understand that every single interaction you're having in your life is your mirror that you've brought in unconsciously or consciously. This is just an unconscious to conscious game that we're playing here. So every interaction we have in the outer world is a mirrored reflection of what we have going on within us, whether we can see that or not. So the idea is like, let's go in here. Let's bring it all up to the surface. This is my Scorpio coming, like, I'll dive down in those depths with you, get into that dirty, murky water and like get that fear stuff up, get the human oppressed stuff up, like bring it up to the top. It's the only way to release it. And when each one of us is an individual, like, you really want to change the world, this is how you do it. Because there's this thing called quantum entanglement. There's this thing called fractal consciousness. We should know by now. And so when we do it within the self, that's our main job, is to kind of get stabilized, get centered, embrace this process we're going through. What happens is it ripples down the fractal line. And it's kind of like a tree that blooms, right? Like, you get a couple little flowers that come first, but eventually in the same season, the entire tree blooms. And so, you know, Richard was bringing that in always. His kin is 57, which is a big kin today with this 55, the red earth, which is a big assister with the yellow seed, with this whole year. So he brought in this code, which I believe is a serious transmission. And the sacred seals are also connected. So, you know, he has the grounded perspectives of archetypes and shadow work, but then it really brings it into eventually a cosmic transmission through the sacred seals and the 144,000. So, okay, I know I'm talking a lot right now, but I want to read the Ring of the Illuminati, the codon ring of the Illuminati, which is about the 144,000, because we talked about the Telektonon prophecy, opening of the 7 sacred seals, activating the 144,000. So what does that look like? So let me see, where's my Ring of the Illuminati?
Do you have
Do you
have them all handy? Because I would want you to read the life and death, being that that's the programming partner to 27 is the programming partner to the Jinki that we're in right now, 50. And it's the codon ring of illusion, which is also very important, ties everything together here. And I'm sorry to like interrupt your flow, but this is what's coming up for me.
No, I'm glad you're bringing it in, because I mean, it's my honor to talk about this information, to share it with anybody who cares to listen. I really do believe that. And this is where we get into these codon rings, right? So there's 64 codons, which eventually we use this karmic blueprint to kind of find ourselves, and then we crash the blueprint. We leave it behind. So I like to say we use the karmic blueprint because, remember, astrology is based on 12 months, right? And we're talking about 13 moons here. So eventually we step out of the karmic blueprint, but at first we find ourselves through the karmic blueprint. And then once we do that, we unlock all the codes. We leave the stories behind to unlock the gates, is what I like to say, which is your whole karmic story. Whatever it is, good or bad, terrible or hard. listen, there's not a human that didn't come on this planet that wasn't here to work out karma. I mean, and I think Stephanie's book, Stephanie South's book, talks a good amount about this. I really enjoy this book. In the beginning, it talks about how we kind of came here to work out this cosmic karma and this galactic karma. And so you take it all on as your own as you're processing it, but you also know you're kind of like, you're just chipping away at these pieces of old stuff that just need to be brought to the surface. And we're here to kind of see it. So the codon rings have to do with the all chemical processes that are responsible for eventually, Richard Rudd's not talking about this information outwardly so much yet, but it's coming time that we're going to start talking. They're called the rings of revelation. So again, bringing it back to prophecy and revelations in the Bible, which also talks about 7 seals and 144,000. It all kind of weaves together. So let's start with this ring of illusion that you're talking about, because we're in the 28 right now, which talks about this codon ring of immortality. Well, it's also paired with the 32, which was last week was the 50. The week before was the 32. Okay. The 32, it talks about veneration, and it talks about our ancestors. And it also talks about a grafting process of like, kind of like taking what we need from the ancestors and also leaving behind what we no longer need, because we're still replaying some old karmic stories from the ancestral lines, because ancestral lines had things like blood sacrifices, human sacrifices, right? Like, it happened. There were those types of things that happened. So we can graft through that and we can remove those things. This is the type of work that I do on a collective level. I remove that out of the DNA and the cells of all beings on the planet, of myself. By doing it through myself, I clear the karma by being aware that it exists. And, my daughter the other day, River, we had a friend that just came back from Teotihuacan and brought us a crystal skull. And River was holding the crystal skull, and she's only 10 months old. So maybe we shouldn't have let her hold it. But at the same time, she usually holds all of our crystals. And she took the crystal skull and she just went boom on the floor, and the face just broke off of it. And so at that moment, I heard breaking all curses. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And, this is a sacred spot here in Mexico. And so over the days I was hearing, it was breaking curses of black magic. It was breaking old ancestral curses, breaking old shadow aspects of the self, right? If we want to bring the fractal up. And honestly, when I've been working with Shasta, who is connected to the root chakra, I keep hearing, rip the root out of the ground. We're moving out of, and doesn't mean it's different from being grounded, but understanding that there's some things down in there that we don't need to take with us anymore. It's totally fine to we've got to release the traumas in our own current reality. And so we certainly want to also release them down and up the line and all the way forward. So we're doing this genetic laundry, which is what the 59 is talking about, which is unlocking the freedom of the 55. It's doing the genetic laundry. It's not so personal. So the codon ring of illusion we'll read first, which is the 28 and the 32 connected together. And we're in that energy of the 28 right now. So I have the intention right now, and all that are in agreement with this also, to just really radiate this, ripple this down into the entire fractal consciousness. That's what I do every time I read any of this stuff, is I send it down and up and all around. It's talking about embracing the dark side. So you move from the shadow of purposelessness to the gift of totality, and then to the city of immortality. And these are frequency bands. So you could almost say that you could see the shadow as the 3rd dimension, fear and separation. The 4th dimension is kind of the opening of the heart. And then the 5th dimension, or the Siddhic state, is when you really start to remember and embody this understanding of oneness, to really like live it in the body. So the codon ring talks about the binary genetic codon group is based on the illusion of death. It is coded to guide humanity through the veils of primal fear of death itself, and the fears of dying unfulfilled. At the shadow level, these 2 gene keys cause human beings to keep postponing their lives, seeking a sense of purpose in the future. Yet at its core, this codon ring carries the potential for humanity to break the illusion of death altogether. It is through the simple understanding that true purpose is giving oneself 100% to every moment and living totally in the present that such an illusion is broken. And so today I was hearing harmonic convergence of the past, future, and the present, and like to really get into, that's what the 0 point that we're talking about, 0 point quantum mechanics. It's using that 0 point heart center. And actually, I can kind of jump into this really quick. This is what I call my Quetzalcoatl. I just threw this real quick because I left my other one. I want to show you something interesting though. Reactor, creator. So the other day I was shown how creator and reactor have the same letters. Isn't that interesting? So you're either a reactor or a creator. It's nothing good or bad, nothing right or wrong, no judgment here, but you're one or the other. And this is Quetzalcoatl. So here's the bird and the wings, and here's the serpent, here's the snake. All right, we're looking to bring the snake and the serpent together as one. And we do that through the heart chakra, the causal plane. Okay, and so we start here with our lower 3 chakras. And so this has to do with your physical incarnation from 0 to 7, which is connected to specific gene key codes that you have. So now you can study that. Okay, I'm 0 to 7 years old. I've got a code here with the shadow of purposelessness. How did that look in my reality? However you want to contemplate it. This can be as long of a process or as non-linear of a process as you'd like it to be, because we're really just turning on and off neural pathways. So we're shifting into a healing process that's beyond any technique that's out there. It's quantum healing. It's rewiring. It's the year of the electric seed. Why is it the year of the electric seed? Our fifth dimensional body is electric. It says it right here in this book. So we're talking about turning it on, and we turn it on by rewiring, right? And so in electricity, when you I mean, I'm not an electrician, but I'm just saying, I kind of feel like I'm already doing this type of stuff in a different way. You rewire the thing. The thing doesn't go back to the old the wired pattern. So we're looking to understand what's up here. 0 to 7 years old. Well, we all know we've had some things that went on there. So then you have a code that goes with it. And then this is your 7 to 14. And this is when your emotional patterns were gridded into your body. So your emotional stuff was here. This is your original, 0 to 7 years old is your physical. So the first time reopening your heart. This is since you were born, since the beginning. Okay. And then we've got, thanks. Okay. And so then we've got, this is from 14 to 21. And this has to do with our mental processes that we kind of built into, that helped us learn how to override our emotions. Because back in the day, we can probably all understand, we didn't know what emotions were. We didn't know how to understand how to honor them, or how to read them, or how to see what they were really telling us. Now I see emotions, they're just messengers, right? Your emotions are here to show you the pieces within yourself that still need to be seen, loved, unlocked, to help you identify your fears, old programs, old ancestral karma, all of that type of stuff. So this is here. This is the serpent nature. This is the one that reacts or retreats. And so we're looking to open up our creator consciousness. And so let me read you about the 144,000, because the 144,000, in my personal opinion, and this is connected to gene key 44 and 50, it's not so much that there are 144,000 chosen people. To me, what it means is it's the first 144,000 that are ready to leave the stories behind, to unlock the gates, to embody this Quetzalcoatl thing that I'm talking about here. So I'll just read this to you here. The Ring of the Illuminati. The Ring of the Illuminati is uniquely coded with the harmonic geometries of our higher evolutions. As this codon awakens throughout the human genome, the higher subtle bodies of humankind will self-organize into potent and coherent formations of awakened beings, right? So we're starting to see this right now, that there's a self-organization that's starting to happen with the fractals. This higher social harmony will progressively reveal itself as human beings move beyond the domain of shadow consciousness, which I would also like to call fear, separation. Maybe you could call it third dimension if you want to put names to stuff, but where it's for the beings that are ready to move beyond the domain of shadow consciousness and realize the harmonic blueprint that underlies all of human civilization. Humanity has always sensed the presence of the Illuminati, or the chosen ones. We have woven them into our legends, dreams, and even our conspiracy theories. Commonly misunderstood, the Illuminati refers to a higher evolution of celestial beings or ascended masters who are not separate from us, but are our higher nature personified. So it's our higher nature, our ascended master, I've never really worked with guides or I'm directly connected to source, and now I'm bringing that down into the body. My higher evolutional celestial being, I am the council, bringing it down into the body. I am the ascended master, bringing it down in the body when I'm ready to move beyond my domain of shadow consciousness. So that's where the gene keys can help you kind of see where those shadows are, help you see the unseen. We now live in the time of the gathering of the Illuminati, a time of unprecedented planetary change where its fields of harmony draws us in and gradually transforms our cellular DNA into its highest mode of functioning. So you could say like the switch has been turned on for this now. And so now it's talking about, it's for the human beings that are willing to move beyond the domain of shadow consciousness. So what we're doing is we're looking here again, and we're looking at, we've got to work with this here. And so here's our feathered serpent, right? We're looking to unify all the aspects of the self. This, by the way, is the physical plane, emotional plane, mental plane, causal plane. This is your Buddhic plane, which is your throat chakra. This is your third eye. This is your crown chakra, right? We're looking to bring these down into the body, but this is the constriction area that's keeping that from happening. So there's something that we have to be willing to do, which is opening the heart to everything that's ever happened to us in our past. And really being able to go down there and like love that, forgive that, to accept it as a part of the natural process of creation. Because that's really what we've just been playing out codes and numbers. River saying hi in the background. And so ultimately, one day I was being told, leave the stories behind to unlock the gates. Like I could feel that I had some kind of emotional situation kind of going on in my body. I could feel the chemicals coming into my body, and we can all do that. Like we can all feel those things that kind of get us worked up. The fears, the thoughts, whatever it is, if it's checking your bank account, if it's talking to your ex-partner, like whatever those things are, wherever you're getting that juice flowing that doesn't feel so comfortable, that's where your work lies. And so we can't hide from it anymore, because the chemicals that are being released in the body are affecting us, and they will continue to affect us until we shift the way that we look and respond to things, because we're looking to learn how to master the chemicals in the body. So when I heard that, leave the stories behind, the unlock the gates, I'd had a thought process in my mind, and I was feeling icky. I was feeling anxious about it. I was feeling that thing in my stomach, and I heard it. And then this song came in, and it said, and so I want to show you, this is how I was interpreting it. It said, leave the stories behind to unlock the gates. 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 Unlock the gates. Unlock the gates. And so it was a harmonic little ditty that kind of came in to kind of remind me. And so I started playing with that. Anytime I'd start repeating a story, that would come up over and over again, because there's this thing, right, about honoring emotions and feeling emotions to heal them and all of that. But we must understand that something always comes before the emotion. It's the thought about what's happening to us that brings the emotional state. And so emotions are also oftentimes just patterns that are here to inform us of patterns that we need to see within our psyche, within our unconscious, so that we can kind of clear it and unlock these gates. And so I was inquiring within myself, well, what are the gates? Well, they're the gates of your consciousness. They're the gates of heaven. You could imagine this is heaven or peace, and we want to bring peace down to the earth. We want to bring heaven down into the body. So we've got to unlock these gates. So you start to identify, like, where are your gates locked? And the gates are also in your mental too, you know, and we get attached to ideas. And so this also has to do with the eagle and the condor and the Hopi prophecy. And they're all talking about the same thing. It says the people in the center, they bridge the north and the south. This is it. The people in their heart, the people in their heart center. I can interpret that as Central America to North and South America too, if I really want to. But ultimately, the people that are sitting here in the causal plane, the bridge between the worlds that has this thing open. So the real question is when we're ready, whenever you are ready to leave the stories behind, the unlock the gates, that's when, and also the gates are the stargates, because that's when Stargate information started coming into me, was when I was able to leave personal, individual, victim types of stories behind. I was able to unlock these gates of a bigger perception of what's really going on the planet. River is excited back here too. She's hanging out, eating her fruit in the background. So she's saying hello. So that's kind of that's the Quetzalcoatl to me. And it's shifting from, right, and this is 0 point. This is your total 0 point, and which is connected to gene key 52, which is connected to Sirius, which is connected to, when we think in Sirius B52 as a transmitter of cosmic information to us here, it all kind of, and 52 is just a key number in general with galactic activation portals and all of that. Somebody else can weave those codes, but I believe that 52 is about stabilizing the field, getting into that 0 point so that we can allow our higher consciousness to come in. And it's really about surrendering. And so letting go of the attachments of this old aspect of the self. And you could even say this is the cosmic awareness, right? And this is the Aboriginal continuity. These are the old traditions, cultures, the things that we've been afraid to leave behind. Like I was afraid to leave behind what I learned about religion. I was afraid to, when I was pregnant for my first child and I wasn't married, and the shame that I felt. It's a silly story now to me to think about that, but I still had some old cultural programming that wasn't really jiving for me anymore, right? So this is part of that ancestral grafting too, right? It's like being able to let go of the old so that we can really bring in the new. And it's whenever you're ready. It's not when the calendar strikes this or when the clock starts this. No, time ends whenever you're ready too. And so that was a big key for me, was leaving behind time slowly but surely. And so if you're new to this information, or even if you're not, I remember it was probably around 2017. So 4 years ago, I started to hear time is an illusion. And I was like, that sounds like a good vibe I wouldn't mind jiving with. Like, I couldn't believe how it was true at that moment, but I just started to kind of adopt. I was like, yeah, time is an illusion. Because I would pay attention to how my body would feel when I would think about time. And I was back in that life, I was in a very busy type A, very full calendar, always to the max, always exhausting myself, always kind of bringing myself into being tired, whatever. And so it was like, time's an illusion. And then I just kept playing with that. And I'd slowly release the things that I no longer needed to be bound by time with. And eventually what's interesting, because you reconfigure how you look at the world on the internal, and then what happens is that the external will match. This is the true law of vibration, of attraction, or whatever. I don't really play in law of attraction like I want this or I want that. I just kind of get clear and centered within myself, and then my energy field attracts to me the highest timeline that matches what's kind of going on in here. And so we just kind of keep refining in this inner space, these inner planes. And so we all might do that differently, but again, it's whenever you're ready, right? And it can happen in an instant. And in fact, our world is kind of shaking up to kind of force this thing. And it looks a little crazy because we've got a lot of shadow coming up all at the same time. And part of the hero's journey is that you got to go through some really heavy, crazy shit, right? And so the world is going through that now. I'm kind of in a little more of a relaxed state because I went through mine alone. I wish I had a friend to talk to about it, but I didn't. And to say that, hey, on the other side of leaving the stories behind, everything self-organizes and you start to trust the bigger picture. You start to see it. The rewards come in the reflection of your reality and in the relationships that come. You found that peace and that balance within the self. You can't help but experience it externally. And then when we understand in the divine matrix, Greg Braden talks about this with, it's with our auric fields. When we're holding an auric field of an understanding of that oneness and this unity, we're radiating it out to those around us. But it's not just in a 6-foot radius. It starts to get, I think it's Wayne Dyer, who's kin 222, by the way. I think he said something like, when one being radiates at the truth of like oneness with all things, it expands out to something like 570,000 people. Look, don't mark my words on it, but let's just play with an experiment here. And let's just imagine that one of us being willing to leave the stories behind, to unlock the gates, to bring ourselves into this unity consciousness, because we'll never get into unity consciousness here, because we're still playing out the separated stories. We don't understand that our mother is us, our father is us, and our enemy is us. We don't understand that yet. And that's still, I know, hard for some people to accept. Look, I'm just sharing how the consciousness and the open gates came to me. It was a real realization that I am one with all things here, and that we're all kind of at different perspectives of how we're looking at things. But I also believe we're kind of coming into a unified awareness that's coming through some kind of activation of the pineal gland, which, by the way, is full of magnetite, which is being affected by all of, RuBen is always bringing in magic information every day with the codes and with the solar storms and the solar magnetics, and this thing's happening. So all we have to do is face the stuff that comes up, and also be willing to kind of take out the trash, leave stories behind to unlock the gates, or else we're replaying the same stories over and over again. So this year of the electric seed is about rewiring it all. And the blue 55 Blue Eagle electric, it's the same, that electric tone of unification. And I'll stop there. I know I've been talking again for a while. I'm not apologizing though.
Thank you so much for all your sharing and all your wisdom, and you're bringing in so much realness into it, because it's important that we recognize all aspects of ourselves. This is multidimensional process, so we have this third dimensional selves dealing with our basic survival reality at the moment, but there is when we reach that heart, that 0 point, and we start to really open up for possibilities and open up the heart, even though at times it may be painful, it may not be that easy, but of course the expansion that opening creates is what allows more of this trauma to be released in a way that is not as dramatic as it has been, and that we eventually overcome the entire process. So we need to find also the relationship of all the what you share of the gene keys with the time that we are right now, this intersection of October that happens to be like a month that is fully charged of moments of shift, and of moments of different historic events that have shaped the history of the planet, including the Gregorian calendar reform of 1582, including the Harmonic Convergence this year, and also a very important aspect that we have probably not paying much attention to, which is the ancient Mayan long count that is running in the background, but is informing of some harmonics that are coming also to completion. And what we were saying at the beginning of the broadcast is that today not only marks the harmonic convergence, but is connected to an event that was very that shifted the process of evolution on the planet Earth, which is the atomic bomb of Hiroshima. Both events were like the harmonic convergence and Hiroshima happened on the same day, the same fractal of Kin 55, and we can see how the the codes, they become like tools to redeem these stories. No? The gene, the same way that the gene keys redeems the shadow of our genetic imprints of trauma, in the same way the codes of time, they're able to go back into the historic record and reframe these events so that we can perceive the harmony behind the chaos that we are experiencing, but that there is a connection throughout history that we are now being able to make conscious without the same pain that we have been unconsciously perpetuating over the years. So this is the time that really overcome the trauma of the collective by doing our own shadow work. And what that quote from Wayne Dyer, if it was Wayne Dyer that Alisha mentioned, it's really powerful because it really puts into perspective how powerful our hearts are, the magnetic field that we create, the resonance of that magnetic field of the heart with an aligned mind, an aligned body, an aligned root chakra, and how those that flow of energy is what is shifting or mutating our DNA. And I love also what you share about that the mutation is happening at the solar plexus level, because I heard also, I think it was Richard Rudd commenting that this is the cauldron, and that our emotion is this cauldron, and we are evaporating these emotions so that they get transmuted without having to go through them. We can just make them conscious and acknowledge the emotion that it brings, and then do our best to move forward in the spiral so that we can keep the process of ascending alive for the human species. So it's not just us that are ascending in consciousness, it's the whole fabric of reality ascending into a higher state of being. And it's really beautiful to experience that when we have the brief synchronicities of the big aha moments, like today, all these cycles synchronizing in the 13-day wave field of prophecy, and having the long count coming also to this inflection point of harmony, the closing of the 8th tune at the end of this 13-day cycle, that are informing us that there is a music of the spheres that is informing that process of mutation, and that the more we tune in to these frequencies, to these codes, and to these numbers that at the beginning look like a little abstract or maybe frightening, that they inform us even when we are not conscious. But when we get this information and we allow it to settle, then it starts to work from within us, and parts that were not making sense suddenly make sense, and we have big blind spots that we were not able to see suddenly become visible. And so I want to acknowledge that it was at the Harmonic Convergence of 2020 that we did with Mikuak. We learned about the gene keys and the connection to the 55 and the kin 55, and actually Mikuak and Giselle also started through that pathway of the connection between gene keys and the Tzolkins. One informs space, the other one informs time, and this assemblage point between space and time, which is our locus of consciousness, which is our own the core of our own bubble of consciousness, is radiating out to the world, and bringing these harmonics into embodiment, into actual manifestation in our magnetic fields, and in our those magnetic fields have an effect on our biology, and we can, this gene key of immortality opens that gateway of understanding how we can flow with the energy and evolve, or we can resist the energy and react and keep the loop of karma going. This is the threshold. This is a harmonic moment like no other since December 21st, 2012. That many timelines are synchronizing, many systems are coming together, and what an amazing opportunity to be able to share it with more people and to be part of the process, that we are doing it is for the planet, for ourselves, and for the entire process of evolution on at least on this galaxy. So thank you so much. I want to invite Mikuak, who has not been speaking much, so you can also add whatever you feel important to highlight today.
Right on. Well, I'm certainly enjoying this exchange, because it is, it's, personally for me, it's a long time coming. These are ideas that I've been navigating for better than 20 years or more. And so kind of understanding where we are on the sort of turn of the spiral, it's refreshing to engage in the continuity of this consciousness. And one thing I would say is that it's been interesting to note across the spectrum a gradual acceleration. And so people who have been coming into the turn of the spiral themselves consciously have also found it at a much higher velocity, because there is a quickening. And so there's been a quickening, but it's getting quicker and quicker, So those who are getting online in this awareness, in this field, are also experiencing that acceleration in their own experience directly. And it's beautiful. It's kind of like running track, and sometimes in track, it's like you have a long stretch, but when you get in that curve, there's an acceleration that occurs. So many people in their own journey, on their own path, are in that curve, and they're now at this turn of the spiral, for the collective as well as for themselves personally, able to share, I think, from the vantage of, what is up for not only themselves, but for the collective right now, because it's such a compression of time as well. As you're pointing out, Ruben, there's a coherent alignment across the multiple timelines. And to even speak to the purpose we serve to help redeem the nature of the Gregorian calendar, specifically by helping people become conscious of that program, and then they can make the decision to shift from that program as a dominant reference that governs their lives. That's a conscious choice, though, to be made, but also as a system. But the fact that we're also making conscious the 28-year frequency of the Gregorian calendar. So somehow in consciousness, that particular calendar that has arguably caused a lot of chaos and conflict is yet and still, for the appropriate time of now, coded to be corrected. It's literally coded to be corrected. So we are being conscious of this factor, by highlighting that we're promoting a transition to a 13-month, 28-day calendar because of the natural dynamic of 28, what that represents. So it is a beautiful thing to recognize the Gregorian calendar itself is on that 28 fractal in frequency, and therefore it is being corrected. So it's a good thing. Now, we want to increase awareness of that fact as much as we can. And at the same time, I love what we're discussing today about the power of the embodiment of it sends out that resonant frequency that, like the 100th monkey factor, it activates a broad, just a broad portion of our human population. And this way is how we reach the critical mass that we've been anticipating. And this is, again, I feel very grateful to know that as more people are acknowledging the multidimensional nature of reality, so to speak, that we can acknowledge that we have been long observed in our process here by those of the higher worlds, other worlds. It's not just us alone. We're under observation. It's kind of like, let's get whoever's in the game currently, let's see how good they can do. What can they do to accelerate and expand the awareness of our self? Because there's really only one of us here. And so we're rooting ourselves on in our multidimensional selves as we're down here playing our various roles. And ultimately, it's just the one giver of movement and measure, experiencing itself, which is a joy. What's not to love about that? That's amazing. And ultimately, I've been speaking up with Michelle about this idea, but the joke's on us, because it is a big play. It's a big illusion. It's a big theatrical presentation with all of our various roles being served. So and to Michelle's point earlier, in terms of what someone who's just coming into this can do, I would certainly invite somebody to learn their galactic signature as a starting point, as well as learn their gene keys as another intersecting starting point. And even if you know your signature and you don't know your gene keys, then certainly learn your gene keys. Go to genekeys.com, as Alisha was saying, and get your profile for free. And then, go to our friends at 13moon.com, which have a great decoder at the top of the website right there, to get your galactic signature decoded. And I would say, start there. Obviously, it is a mind-opening and transformative experience if people are new to this information. I also have a feeling people tuning into this channel are to some degree well aware of this information in various ways. And maybe the conversation now is also about, with this awareness and the collective nature of our reality, what do we choose to do into our collaborative, co-creative futures? Because ultimately, we're all here on the same plane, as it were, to celebrate and perhaps collaborate more, and just be present for what is unfolding. I think with the timelines that we've learned from the Cosmic History Chronicles, we're actually right on target. I think Michelle kind of indicated that before as well. We're literally, we, as in the collective we, this 144,000, if you will, and the fractal that represents, because that means a lot of things in a lot of different ways. We are in a moment where, as Alisha was indicating, the current initiation that's happening on the surface world through the experiences of the pandemic and things like this have been serving higher purposes, though it may appear to, just be a real inconvenience and a real challenge, for the world, as it were. But the world has been an inconvenience and a challenge unto itself. So at one point, something has to give and something has to shift. And so these experiences are what we're encountering, what we're faced with. Now, as we're moving through this, which we know inevitably is redeemed, as all things inevitably get redeemed somehow, it's a good time to imagine and prepare for the new ways in which we will interact and engage, in our collaborative futures. And I would also just simply sum it up with the idea that, all is number, as the prophecy states, and all of these factors that we're able to gather, and these perspectives and these qualities, these indicators, these codes, let them reveal themselves to you as we continue to let them communicate to us, and we know that they show up in everything. They're in everything. They're in all of our relations. They're in all of our experience. It's a beautiful thing. So I just bearing witness to that and just giving thanks for today again, and the turn of the spiral being an opportunity to celebrate this harmonic convergent energy as an ongoing event and series of events. It just gives me great joy of anticipation, celebration now, and anticipation for celebrations to come, for what this process does offer to us, you know, as an opportunity. So that's where I'm at. I mean, obviously there's things for us to hold space for in the challenge of crossing this bridge, you know, because many people are going to be challenged in ways, you know, that, you know, we want to hold compassion for, and appreciation, and just really hold the ability to just be in a loving space of acceptance, you know, more than anything, because it's a simultaneous shift, you know, and it's going to be experienced by everybody in their own particular way. So I also want to just acknowledge it being the year of yes. I find that an encouraging proposal. So for those who are new to this or new to opening their heart, I would just say generally just be clear with your yes and what you're saying yes to, you know, because we are truly, we're co-creating with creation all the time. And so it's a joy. And the more we live into this, I'm just excited for what is to come. In terms of these timelines, I think one thing also to point out is as it was mentioned, October 21st was a very significant date. And as we look to the future, there's a significance to that date in the future, some 2,700 years plus 51 in the future. That's a long time. And yet that time is now. So the fact that we're conscious of that long time to come in the now, I think it's a two-way street, so to speak. You know, it's both aware of us now as we are aware of that time to come, you know. And so I think Marina Jacobi speaks to the idea that, you know, humanity wins. This process that we're traveling through that does seem to be daunting and challenging, humanity ultimately wins. You know, and in light of that, that means a lot of things, a lot of different things to a lot of different people. You know, for myself personally, I resonate with this idea, though, that we are our future selves here to support the current situation. And we're able to do that because humanity wins. And yeah. Okay. Give thanks. I'm getting a cue from apparently I'm not on camera. I don't know. I see myself on the live over here, but you know, it's just a little square.
Oh, I don't know.
She wanted me to spotlight myself. Oh, I see. No, well, you know, it's all great. And I love the fractals. I am highlighted because we're all highlighted. We're all spotlighted. Oh boy. But as a planet, we really are spotlighted. And there's a whole lot of support that's, you know, just kind of gathered around for quite a while, actually. It's not new necessarily, but it's definitely now. And I'm just grateful that we're here now, you know, so we can carry through the goal line to reach these particular markers. So just to that point as well, as folks tune into Harmonic Convergence Facebook page and what you've been presenting, RuBen, speak a little bit for our benefit to this window that we know initiates November 4th and what that represents. As you mentioned also, you referred to the Mayan long count, the vigesimal count specifically, because again, it's remarkable for people, particularly who are interested in number, you know, what that reflects, what that means as far as the count of days. It's a very specific, unbroken count of days that I think, you know, really magnifies the great proportion of what we're navigating. And just that window for this next 4 years, because I know to October 14th, 2025, that's another very important marker of these tune cycles. So I want to invite you to speak about that if you don't mind.
Yeah, thank you so much. Of course, yeah. What we have been realizing in for especially during this current Tzolkin, the it's becoming much more into focus is that these timelines, which are nothing more than really filters through which perceive the time we are living. One is the long count, the other one is the Gregorian, the other one is the new Sirius count, or the Dreamspell is also called. These are coming into what we call also like an entrainment. As you were saying before, even this harmonic nature of the Gregorian calendar is woven into the harmony of this alignment. And what we are experiencing right now is that in the same way that we have this fractal of 13 units, the 13 days of a Waspel, the 13 moons of the year, the 13 orbits of Venus around the Earth for to complete one pentagonal cycle with the Earth, and the 13 Bactuns are part of a larger fractal. And these larger fractals is we can map it as a spiral, in which these points, specific points within the sequence of the spiral that goes ascending, are showing us higher and higher points of resonance or an intersection within the timelines. So you just mentioned October 21st, 4772 as one of these guideposts that are putting us in the future. On that day is going to be on the long count, the 8th day of actually Bactun 29, because we were complete on October 13, 4772, 20 Bactuns, which is going back to the numbers that Alisha was speaking, are 20 cycles of 144,000 days. Each one of those cycles of 144,000 is comprised by 20 Katuns, which are 20 cycles of 20 tuns each. And what tun is a cycle of 360 days. That was probably envisioned by the Maya as a way to connect the circle, the circumference, and the 360 days of the 360 grades of a circle with the 360 days of a tun. And because of that connection, all these fractals within the spiral are becoming to this alignment. So what we are closing on the last day of this 13-day cycle is the 8th tun, or the 8th cycle of 360 days from December 21st, 2012, which is when we cross this horizon of the 13. 13.0.0.0.0 was December 21st, 2012. And the path to the 13th cycle of 360 days in the future ends precisely on the 443 years of the Gregorian calendar. And this is like a sign from the future that this process that we are mapping, it's reaching like a climax point that day, because that day happens to be also what we have been calling the golden intersection of timelines, the golden point in which the 5 ratio seems to be connecting the Gregorian count, the long count, reaching this marker of 13, which is part of the spiral, and the Dreamspell count, the new Sirius count, because the 3 of them are connected through the 5 ratio. We have an article that is on Medium on this subject, and we are also going to map this cycle in a very detailed way. We have been calling this like a cosmic time ephemeris. That we are aiming to release it by the end of this 13-day cycle, because at the end of this 13-day cycle, we reach in the long count, the marker 13.0.9.0.0. And those two numbers, 1399, are the numbers of the prophecy, are the numbers that code this entire play that we have been seeing or being part of for the last at least the last 1,444 years. That this prophecy that was brought forward by Tony Shearer, whose birthday is October 27th. So he's also in this cluster of dates and this merging of timelines. His solar return is going to match Richard Rudd's galactic signature, which is part of that process of entrainment. And are you sharing right now what we are the spreadsheet where we have these numbers, or are we, or I'm on Spotlight? Well, I don't know, but I'm going to keep going, and if people are watching online, and
I'm sharing the spreadsheet.
Oh, perfect,
yeah.
perfect.
See, what you see on the screen is exactly
yeah. So if you can scroll up a little bit more, so what we come to the beginning of this wasteful, it started basically when the sun started enter the sun of the sign of Scorpio, which is if you can go a little bit up to kin 53 on the right portion of the screen. Yeah, because what we are doing here is that on the left side of this chart, we are mapping the ancient or the aboriginal count, the indigenous count, that it's still ongoing, and it's been adding days since the beginning of human civilization, August 13 minus 3113 BC. And that count didn't stop at the December 21st, 2012, but it's ongoing, and it goes far into the future to this year of 4772 when we complete a perfect hologram of 20. But what we are seeing here is that the start of this wasteful of prophecy was on October 23rd, and this is putting us in a trajectory that is connected, as we can see on the left side, with the first 13 days of the long count. So today, as we have this conversation, is the 10th day of the sacred calendar of 260 days on the vigesimal count. We can see it on the left side. And tomorrow would be the signature of Jose Arguelles, 11, 11, 11, stone 11, seal 11, king 11, or at least that's the analog frequency within the synchronic order system of these dates on the long count. We want to make sure that we honor our past, that we honor the wisdom that is coming from the future, and that we can see these intersection points like this marker of 13.0.9.0.0 synchronizing on day 20th of the sacred calendar, and then with the last day of this wasteful is a sign of harmonic resonance. These are the markers that we are looking for, and that within the system of the synchronic order, these different layers or fractals of time, the ones that measures the 13 days and the one that measures the 13 moons, are also synchronizing, coming together. And this is how, in the same way that we have 13 days that goes from kin 53 to kin 65, we have 13 moons that goes from kin 53 to kin 65, and that we are in the yellow electric seed is that same container, is that same holographic blueprint of prophecy. Basically, what that means is that tomorrow, kin 56, is the 4th day of this cycle, and we are going to and we are now in the fourth moon of the year that is also coded by Kin 56. So that is like a perfect nested portal of the 13 moon fractal, with a small fractal of the 13th day within the signature of the harmonic convergence 56, which happens to be also 28 times 2, and tomorrow is the second day of Jinki 28, so 28 times 2 is 56. So we can keep adding resonance to these alignments and uncover more layers of harmony. That's the beauty of this process of synthesis, is that the moment we put our attention on it and we dig a little bit on the oracle of the day and the energies of the day, they are informing us. Electric Eagle, which is today, is the perfect analog of the electric seed year. The perfect analog is the power in the oracle, because every day has a division into 4 observations or 4 different watches, and the entrance into this portal is the analog power, which happens to be the yellow electric seed. So we are celebrating this harmonic convergence within a fractal of the harmonic convergence, within the perfect analog year of the harmonic convergence. And this is the last day of the 13th week of the harmonic convergence. We are running the cycle coded by seal 13 on the Tzolkins. And we just closed the 13th harmonic on Kin 52. So this 13, which was the number that we have been highlighting, at least for the past 3-4 years, as the cyclical power of time, because we lost in the 13th Baktun with the rise of colonization of the new world by the old world, and with the adoption of the Gregorian calendar. We are coming out of amnesia of our true knowledge and true relationship with time. It was occulted by these 2 instruments called the Gregorian calendar and the mechanical clock, both part of the process of mechanization of time. And we are in the process of unmechanized time and really integrate our evolution to an organic timeline that is not measured by these devices. They are absorbed within the harmonic convergence of timelines, but they are on their fading or way out. And what we are going to enter is that last tail of the fading out that reach a peak point of harmonic resonance on October 15, 2025 is exactly the date. That day we will complete that fractal of the golden proportion within the Gregorian count, and that day would be also the completion of exactly 18 cycles of 260 days from December 21st, 2012. That's how everything is connected, everything is related. We are going into higher and higher octaves of the process, and we just need to make them conscious and let go of the stories, because they are they are not allowing us to really lift off by holding to all the old stuff. And as Alisha was saying, and we have been highlighting doing these broadcasts, this is the time to really trust and let go of the stories of the past, because the codes are showing us that we are in that trajectory of evolution. We are in the upward spiral, even though many people may connect with the downward spiral that is now playing out. But there is always the free will, or the possibility at any point to shift from the entropic downward spiral to the syntropic upward spiral. That's how we have been presenting this information, and we hope to, doing this entire waste, will for the people watching this transmission, we encourage them to go to Harmonic Convergence. We'll be sharing more and more aspects of this synchronization. And we hope that we can together build this field of harmony and the resonance that we are destined to experience as the noosphere, as the one organism, that the conscious layer of planet Earth. Sooner or later, there is no escape from that point of unification, and every time that we have these quantum leaps, these conversations, we are moving in that direction of unity consciousness and the singularity, the organic singularity, not the
organic, just to be clear.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you so much for that. And probably we are about to complete 2 hours in 2 minutes. So
yeah, it's a perfect time to wrap up. But I certainly want to invite Alisha and Ishel. I know Ishel had some comments from what Alisha was sharing before as well. So I want to give space for that. So certainly invite you to share as well.
Yes, I'm not going to start in any which way, but just to tie into the now with everything too, that with what RuBen was sharing just a moment ago and what Alisha brought up earlier, between now, October 25th and the 30th, is the energy of this gene key, the 28, which is the gift of totality, and immortality is the city. Uh-oh, excuse me. I'm back. Excuse me. Sorry about that. And that's going on until the 30th. So that energy wave is what's going to be coming in, and that was in relation to the codon ring of the illusion. And so what this takes me back to is something I saw recently with Spirit Science and their chakra movie that they have out, which is great for people who haven't, or this is a whole new thing for them to also like learn about your chakras and how they work. But as Alisha was pointing out, it was perfect how you're matching like the 7-year stages of our life, which is connected to the root, the sacral, and the solar, and being connected with the timelines that we've been viewing lately, that we're right on track, is that this is the time, this is the year on that timeline that we're activating our biosolar field. And like you were saying, this is the electric seed year, and being today is kin 55, electric eagle being the 15th archetype. I'm just seeing all these connections here, so bear with me. I'm trying to get it sent as smooth as possible through my downloading here. But something that the Spirit Science shared is that between the third and the fourth chakra, which is that heart chakra, your heart chakra, the solar, there's a mirror wall there, and we have 2 of them. There's one there, and there's one between the third and the crown, the third eye and the crown. And this mirror is the illusion, right? Here we are in this codon ring of illusion that we are needing to like break through to the heart chakra and be open, and to, all these, like activating the electrical body. And something that came into my sphere in my exploration during this time right now has been the also Jose Arguelles's the Arcturus probe, where he talks about this electrical body. And if I can just read a little bit, he does mention immortality in connection with the electrical body. It says this electrical body learned to call the holon, which we're also talking with, like the holomine perceiver is the, tapped into the synchronotron. And I just saw an eagle fly by. Thank you. I'm not eagle, but a hawk. So it's like, if we could just tap into this like natural like realm of nature and spirituality and science, and synthesize them all, and like kind of start to uncode what our part is in this fractal then we can trust more and more into that. Like, like you were saying, like, lose the fear. The quote recently I just shared today by George Oswald was, they fear love because it creates a world they cannot control. And so we are trying to break that wall, that fear wall, right? That's that mirror wall that we're trying to break through, because we're trying to break through into the wall. They're blocking us by keeping us in our lower chakras and not staying balanced. And I'm talking about the powers that they think they're in, but we're in power, right? We have control of ourselves. So let me just finish reading about this electrical body real quick. Grounding it, let me ground it here. It says, in its pleasure synthesizing function, the electrical body brings all of the vegetable body's senses together in a whole performance experience. As we said, this is all a stage. As pleasurable as it is to be orgasmed out of the vegetable body's skin, the simplicity and synthesis produced by the complete organism experience require a word of the utmost wholeness and simplicity, holon. Jumping down, it says, according to its needs for pleasure, the vegetable body assessing the core will excite the holon to explore various of the parallel universes. Again, this is a galactic movement we're talking about that's happening right now, that we're all a part of, and that we're all making conscious and grounding this information, and being open to with our heart chakras, and being able to connect with everyone through our electrical bodies, through telepathy. In a wave of ecstasy, the nervous system of the vegetable body will be flooded with a release of radially sprocketed engrams, which you know as deja vus. I know I have them. I'm sure people know what that means. If we can connect it now, like that's what's happening. And we're being activated by the sun, as RuBen has shared in the Harmonic Convergence posts of these sunspots that have been happening. I'm losing thoughts here. For ourselves, the deja vu is the unifying indication that we are already dissolving back to the core, the now. And so we bring ourselves back to attention. The point of such refined activity is to become completely remembered in oneself, to oneself, by oneself. This process we learn to describe as memnosis. For in memnosis, the condition of remembering is also the condition called deathlessness. So this is where it comes into with the codon ring, the programming partner to 28, which is 27, which they are part of the codon ring of life and death. Is hopefully we can get that one read if you have that handy, Alisha. Just to tie in everything so people can understand like how this works with the decoding. It says, without deathlessness, no parallel universes could be explored. No multiple layering of dimensional excitation could happen. The probe would remain an impossible dream. And the knowing of the deathlessness, we attained to a condition similar to your notion of immortality. But the word immortality conveys nothing of the restless momentum to which our condition of deathlessness consigns us. In deathlessness, which is the constant remembering, there is nothing but capturing spiral of time, ejecting us into ever more novel condition of consciousness and challenge. So just bringing that in with the time and the energy and the frequency that we're in right now and what we're activating. This is the eagle, the blue electric eagle. I activate in order to create. As Alisha pointed out, are we the reactor or are we the creator? Today, we are making conscious that we are the creator. Gene Key 55, it takes all of us to get to freedom, as you understand, like get out of the victimization mentality, breaking into our hearts, activating our heart chakras so we can allow all the other portals, we can access them, all the other dimensions, all the other vibration, all the other energies, we can, access them with this eagle, which, thank you, Mikuak confirmed that another term for, can you explain to me where men being the eagle, it's like the men is breaking this mirror wall to get to our heart chakra. It's this eagle energy that's activating it today, which then brings us into tomorrow's kin 56. You said 55, 56 is this activation today. Jinki 56 is the shadow is distraction, which is the world mask. So again, here's this mask, that this illusion of the Maya, of what we think or who we are and what our purpose is. It's tuning into the spiral, right? And breaking this mask. I loved what you shared about the skull and your daughter just like broke the face off. It was very, symbolically also bringing up that after this time period of the illusion being released during this time, then from the 31st to the 4th, speaking of the times that RuBen was sharing just a moment ago, of that activation, it brings us back to the codon ring of immortality, which Alisha shared moments ago what that meant. So, and then being that this year, my birthday, just to tie it in with me and like how I work the codes and for my personal being, as well as a collective, because I feel like it's a collective thing here, me being an Aquarius, and it's like, I think about everyone here, not just me, but I am a big part of this, just as we each are. But for my birthday, the coding this year on February 8th was kin 56, which we will be tomorrow. So I am the self-existing warrior this year. And here it is. It's my galactic return tomorrow, right? Sort of. It's like the birthday year. So that's interesting that comes up for me. Oops, I lost you again. Give me a moment. I'm back. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So, yeah, and the Acidic for 56 is intoxication. It's this electrical body that we're activating through this eagle, the archetype of the eagle, which I'm connecting or seeing as part of this unlocking. And it's like, what can we then as a collective reflect of where we're at right now? And what can we ask ourselves? Like, what is real for us? What's real for you in your world? Because this galactic movement for me is very, very much real, and learning about the codes, and how I can unlock the codes within myself, but then also seeing how I can connect and relate with others, and how we can work together and what our purpose is together. So do we know what our galactic signature is altogether? Did anybody figure that out? What's your Alisha, your 144 is your birthday kin? 144. Okay, so let me just figure this out because I'm curious. Yeah. I'm a curious beast.
I did a basic
okay, good.
And we are kin 139, which is solar storm. We're speaking about these solar codes and the self-generation of energy. We are supposed to find our 0 point to self-generate our energy and be the eye of the storm, and become channels for these solar pulsations and solar flares to help us in the process of mutation, because definitely all life on Earth is influenced by the sun, and it's been like that for the entire evolutionary process of the Earth. We are just the last step of that process that is now entering into something new, and we are about to discover what that the different aspects of that newness. Thank you for sharing and for for bringing it all together in your own perspective and your own interpretation, because that's why we want to encourage people that these codes are informing us at the collective level, but also very personal for us, and are telling us that this is the time to come out. And we decided to actually come up with this broadcast as an last minute inspiration, because it became very organic, and as a way to leave some record for the future, for those who tune into this conversation in the future, that this is an ongoing process that has been happening, and that we are mapping the best way we can as we move forward in this evolutionary spiral, and that these codes and these tools are here to assist us in the process of reaching those higher levels of evolution or consciousness. And that the more we practice with them and play with them, because it's illusion is play, but we need, in order to break the illusion, we need to play within the illusion. And at some point, like Mikuak was saying at the beginning, probably I don't remember if during the broadcast or offline, the immortality means breaking out of time to realize that we are eternal, and that this is the cosmic play has been playing out for eternity, and that we are just one more chapter within that cosmic play. And everyone is doing a really good job in playing their roles very, very close to the original script as good as we can. We are in the process of evolution, and that means breaking a pattern over and over and over until we really let go of the story that set the pattern in place. Just about, again, it's good to make emphasis on making the unconscious conscious. I think that's how evolution or consciousness becomes conscious of itself. Creator becomes conscious of its own play, and we play our part within that play of creator.
Alisha.
That was beautiful. Thank you.
Give thanks. Yes.
I do want to mention too, in the electric tone year, we ask, what is my service? And I didn't get to finish reading the Blue Electric Eagle affirmation, but it is: I activate in order to create bonding mind. I seal the output of vision with the electric tone of service. I am guided by the power of self-generation. I am a polar kin. I establish the blue galactic spectrum. Thank you. Sorry, just wanted to complete that and plant the seeds in everyone who's watching this to get them activated, and go from there.
Thanks for sharing that. I think that aligns too. I've been hearing since this full moon in Aries that it's about bringing the spirit into form. Like it's time to bring the service in. Like we've all been kind of figuring some things out, letting some things go, loosening some things up. We're all going through it in different phases. So we're not here to compare to anyone's journey. Like we're all going through what we need to go through. But ultimately, like this Aries moon's really bringing in that energy too, even though I'm talking in the karmic 12-month. But I wanted to share something super important that popped up as you were talking, Michelle, which was, I don't know if everybody knows about like the levels of archetype of the Scorpio in the astrological field. And so there's 4 levels. And so it starts as a Scorpio, which is the reactor, the snapper, the biter, the poison, right? And then eventually you kind of graduate and you move into the archetypal snake. So you're out of the underworld and you still bite sometimes. You might still have some poison or whatever, but eventually you decide, it's only a decision, that you want to take on a higher embodiment or a higher view of your reality. Because when you can take yourself out of the chaos and like look down at everything and kind of objectively observe what's taking place with you and not get distracted about what's outside, then you're playing here. And then ultimately, right, it's the Phoenix. So these are the 4 stages of Scorpio, and we just entered in the Scorpio. So just be playing with that right now. No judgment. And that's the first thing. Like, don't judge yourself here, and don't get all down when you get in your spaces or whatever. However, take a look and say, what archetype, in a funny, joking, illusory way, like, have a freaking game. We came to have some fun here, like have some lightness about everything that we're all experiencing or going through. It's like, where am I playing here? You know, where, if I had to embody one of these, which one do I want to play with? And these ones, you might not have a choice, because at first, sometimes these ones just take you over and you get your reactive natures. But eventually, enough times of you going, let me just kind of take myself out of myself and like observe this whole situation from all aspects, and kind of get myself into center, get myself into 0 point before I go anywhere, before I do anything. So going back to immortality, I want to read you something about the causal plane, which is the 4th body, which is, you would say, you know, the heart here. It's also connected to gene key 43. And what's interesting about gene key 43, each gene key is connected to certain animals, totems, and it's also connected to certain minerals. Well, the 43 is connected to cinnabar, which is kind of interesting, the Red Queen. And the 43 sacred seal is also connected to Padmasambhava. Well, Padmasambhava talks about the terma and the treasure. So this is another place where I've seen how, I don't even know that Richard Rudd knew what he was bringing in. We're all just doing our part, bringing in what we're bringing in. But it's another thing that shows me, like, if you open up this book, it talks about Padmasambhava, it talks about the Red Queen, it talks about the terma and the treasure. Well, this is connected to gene key 43, which happens to be my pearl, but it's connected to cinnabar. And also there's another thing. So there's a few things in the Gene Keys book that are really weaving it in. There's a 26, the Sacred Tricksters, which is bringing in the Siddhic level, it's talking about the cinnabar fields. So again, I feel like that's kind of a code about the Red Queen and the King and Queen's chamber and all of that. So we're kind of just weaving some of these fun stories together. And also today, Robert Grant was talking about in the pyramids on the wall in the King's chamber, they started to make out and see something that had not been noticed or discovered before, which looked like an eagle or a phoenix, which I think had to do with what we're talking about here, with the archetypal patterns of the Scorpio. And then there was something connected to Taurus. And must we bring up too, we should, that May and Scorpio have to do with the alignment with the Pleiades, right? So my birthday is November 18th, directly aligned with the Pleiadian star system. And then middle of March, May 18th, that's when this Tzolkin ends. That's when this count ends. By the way, we have a lunar eclipse coming up on November 19th, a partial. And it happens to carry gene key 33 times, which is rapture. And it's talking about rapture of the emotional center, which is my purpose. So I'm pretty excited about this rapture. Don't fear the rapture, but causal plane, let me get to this. This is the 4th plane of the major planes of reality upon which all human beings function. The causal plane is the higher frequency octave of your physical body and represents the plane of pure archetypes where thought and feeling become one. The causal plane in the realm of synthesis and all human genius rises up into this plane in order to see the holographic nature of the cosmos. Even though the causal plane is beyond language, its energy and nature can be communicated through language as frequency. The 64 gene keys themselves are a transmission from the causal plane. The causal plane also forms the bridge. Here's the important part. So this heart area, this causal plane, which I would also call your higher heart, the causal plane also forms the bridge that links the human evolution to the higher evolutions beyond humanity. And as such, it holds the mysteries of death. To raise your frequency beyond the causal plane is to transcend death. And so I would challenge us all to imagine that whatever we think we know about physicality and about immortality and death and all of those things, I would challenge you to open your mind to something a lot bigger. I mean, we're talking about there's history of civilizations that have disappeared before. Let's be real. Let's talk about the magic and the mystery. Like, let's get into this real quick. Let's stop being so too grounded that we don't forget what our ancestors have done. Like, okay, I appreciate the repressed ancestor story. Let me kind of go ahead and remember this other part of the ancestor story, which was magical shit beyond our mind's understanding in this current timeline of reality. Now we're bridging that plane, right? So that's the main thing I would share about that. And the other thing I would say too, just touching base on, you were talking about the energies earlier, like the energies are here supporting us in this work to just let it all go. The Schumann resonance and all of it. My daughter's calling, so she's telling me it's time to go. I hope that we can all connect again sometimes, maybe even during this prophetic time that we're in. But anytime, let's gather. And I'm always happy to share any information that anybody wants to know. And actually, hold on, River might want to say hi. Say hi.
Hi,
This is-
River. Hi, sweetie.
Aloha,
This-
River. Hi.
Mwah.
Mwah. Hey.
Aw. And actually, you know what? I made up a song I sing to her, but it's the Hunabku in general. Ayum Hunabku Eva Maya Emaho Ayum Hunabku Eva Maya Emaho. So we sing that a lot when we're opening up portals in the river. And honestly, if I'm ever going through anything, I start singing that song to kind of bring my energy up. But the Hunabku, all is number, trust it all, surrender to the perfected geometries, unfolding nature, perfected. Let go of the resistance that's keeping us from the perfection unfolding.
Big aloha in Lakesh.
What a beautiful way
Yay. Perfect.
to finish the live stream with the beautiful Amrita King 21, like Hunabku, one giver of movement and measure to bring the beauty of the innocence of the heart of a child into our awareness.
Absolutely. Wow. Indeed. Oh, good. Yeah, you should read that out loud, Michelle. Because I don't know if they're on the chat, so they're not seeing it.
Right. No. So something else from the Arcturus probe that popped up that I've been discussing with or sharing with Mikuak is the rang with tone, just with the tone activations, and again bringing it back to the synchronotron and the whole of mind perceiver. But again, there's a quote in here. It says, within the heart of Hunabku, galactic source or center, rang, which is radio amplified neurogammatron, is the primary force of kinetic dissociation responsible for the initiation of galactic movement. The power of rang, or radio amplified neurogammatron, creates the disharmonic intervals necessary for the expansion of the galactic order through all of its dimensions. I just wanted to share that. Again, tying everything to what we've been saying and sharing, and I'd love to connect again and explore and keep connecting these bridges and riding the rainbow bridge. I'm full mode of celebrating life every day and you know, being grateful and staying in that love and gratitude frequency is what's been really help me through these times. So thank you for, you know, giving this opportunity to share with each of us and with others that will watch this and to witness each other and these prophetic and auspicious times. I love it. And I love you all.
Beautiful said.
Thank you.
Big love. Ruben, any closing words?
Well, not just giving thanks to everyone watching and to everyone participating here, and to all ancestors and all human beings who have worked for this next stage of evolution to come into being, and just inviting everyone just to stay in an open, with an open heart and an open mind. We are experiencing challenging times, no doubt, but we have the power to really change the narrative. We really just need to rewrite the old stories with more creative stories. That's what this transition is all about, from the third dimension to the fourth dimension to the fifth dimension, is really be able to rewrite the script. And I think that's what we have been doing during this broadcast. So I'm thankful for that, and for having the opportunity to share this with our audience and with the people who are going to connect this in the future. So thank you so much, everyone. Amrita, thank you so much for your beautiful smiles and that energy. It's what we are talking about. I think she's the embodiment, perfect embodiment. We have been talking too much. We need to live in that 0 point of joy.
On that note, everybody, love and gratitude. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Peace. Galakin.
Love and gratitude.